everyone. Welcome to my third episode of The Man's World USA. Thanks for joining us. Today I have another special guest, someone that I also went to high school with. This has been really fun for me to catch up with a lot of these people that I hadn't seen in years, but that we have the same mindset and maybe a lot of the same beliefs in a certain way. Not on everything, but we have a lot of commonalities. So I'm super excited to introduce them. But first, when I think about what Donald J. Trump has accomplished in his just little over 100 days in office, and the media is silent. We're talking, there are crickets. There's crickets. I don't hear the media talking about all the goodness that he has accomplished. I'm just looking at everything he's accomplished from. Let's start with the sales aspect. When I talk about sales, what I'm speaking about is how he's reduced the deficit, right? And he's saving taxpayer dollars, but also what he's bringing into our country as far as revenue goes. I mean, think about this. He's in the trillions of dollars that he's brought in based off of his tariffs. Oh no, the tariffs that everybody was fear mongering about, from the news media to idiot, people. And I'm just still flabbergasted that they can't still look and say, okay, maybe you guys are right. Because what did I say all along? Wait a minute. Just give him a second. Just wait a minute. He is the master of the art of the deal. This is not his first rodeo. He knows what he's doing.
Don't fuck with me, fellas. This ain't my first time at the rodeo.
Yeehaw!
He learned a thing or two, right? The people that are fear-mongering, stop. You already make Darwin look right about you, okay? So just stop. Because I've been saying this all along. Give him a minute. He learned a thing or two while he was in office the last time, and he's kind of like, fool me once. Not fool me twice, not fool me three times. Fool me once is all it took for him to know who to surround himself with in his administration, who he could trust, how to listen to the right people, and surround himself with excellence. Excellence and patriots who are on board with his agenda, following the course, following through with his plan. That's the first thing. The second thing is he's had 4 years to think about what could he have done differently, right? So now he's always had that, kind of like a bull mentality of like, hey, we are the greatest country in the world. And we are. And we are again, thanks to him. So it's like, he's going to stay strong, but he does it with kindness. He doesn't do it like, we're going to blow you guys up if you don't do this. Okay. No, it might lead to that if you're going to put our country into jeopardy, but that's a different story. But when it comes to tariffs, he did it with kindness. I mean, look at all the things he's accomplished, but he was supposed to coordinate a meeting with Zelensky and with Putin. He released an American hostage. Okay. That guy was in there for 2.5 years. Joe Biden, China Joe was too busy finding his brain. He should have been put out of office. He shouldn't have even ran in 2020, to be honest. But all of these things that President Trump has accomplished, from the tariffs to peace deals to prosperity to our country, to getting rid of the nonsense, the wokeness, and bringing our traditional values back. And I'm Mexican, so before you go down that racist, Nazi road, don't even go there. I'm a Mexican American, and I'm proud. I'm a proud MAGA member and President Trump supporter, because I see our country. I see how everybody's feeling safe. Everybody's feeling, it's like when the teacher leaves a room and then they come back, kids are running amok with the substitute teacher there.
And talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face.
I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
We are trained Marxists.
This is the last time an actor assassinated the president.
When they go low, we kick right.
You see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a
behind the gym. That's what I wish.
It is not generally speaking.
Dorn was shot to death as a pawn shop he was protecting was being looted.
Right? And then all of a sudden, the teacher comes back.
You'll call leaders of these cities Democrat leaders, and we don't care if they're Democrat or not. They happen to be in every case. But we'll call them and we'll say, do you need help? And they'll say no. I said, but you just had 40 people shot and many people killed this weekend. And they'll say, no, we're okay. And I'll say, what's that all about? And we're tired of those answers.
Back in action, he's back in control. And America has never been in better shape in my lifetime. I can tell you that, other than when President Reagan was in office, but he was also cleaning up Carter's mess. So here we are. We're doing well. I just wish that I'm starting to see some liberals get on camera in certain forums and actually give credit to President Trump. And those are the smart ones, but they're few and far between. So like the mainstream media, you all better get on board, start reporting the news accurately, start reporting the positives, because you're not going to stop President Trump from performing. And all you're doing is setting off the American people again, because they're looking at this going, how come we haven't seen this in the media? Thank goodness for Elon Musk and X, because if it wasn't for that, we would be suppressed and nobody would ever know what's going on. That's another story. I got to have a whole show over Elon. I love Elon. That's my rant. Stop fear mongering, start giving credit to President Trump and putting the American people at ease, knowing that inflation is going down, that our cost of living, give the guy a year, man. It took Biden 4 years to jack everything up. Give President Trump a solid year before you start saying that things aren't going down, even though the prices are going down. But be realistic here. So, all right, that's my take on that. I won't even get into the NBA officiating again, because that's going to, I've already talked about that in my last episode, and it just don't even get me started. I'm excited. Like I mentioned, I've got a friend from high school. He is amazing, and I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about himself. Please welcome Brian Bell. Hey, Brian.
Amy, wow. How you doing?
Good. It's so good to see you.
Same. Good to see you.
How you look the same. It's so funny. Some of these people, I could see you and I would be like, oh my gosh, Brian Bell. If I ran into you in a grocery store and hadn't seen you, I'd be like, I know you. Anyway, so how's everything? What have you been up to these past many years?
Well, Class A and everything. After that, off to Oklahoma State, 4 years there. Got my degree in aviation. Go Pokes.
Yes.
After that, got my commission as a second lieutenant and was going to go off to pilot training. Then we had cutbacks under the Bush era. After the first Desert Storm, they decided to cut down cockpit spacing. So I came into the Air Force, did some other things with the promise that I would be a pilot at some point. So just about the time I was getting ready to be a captain, they sent me off to Pensacola to do flight training there, which was kind of new. Kind of fast forward, I went into helicopters, went to Montana, several different stateside assignments off the special ops flying helicopters. Here where I'm at now in Florida. And then obviously 9/11 went down. And then after that, my career was just nothing but deployments back and forth to the Middle East. And got to come back and basically did some staff work after I had a couple commands, and then off to finish my career 4 years in the Philippines as the air attaché. Your rant was spot on. I got to see both sides of the fence, the conservative side of the house with the military side, and the way the State Department and a lot of the liberals that were in the State Department how they ran things and what they thought was priority and what was not priority. So a lot of contention there. So I retired out of there, came back, moved to Florida, and I've been a contract pilot ever since and just kind of been enjoying life. Got a retirement from the Air Force, but I'm also, continuing to stay employed, doing what I love, and that's flying.
Wow. Okay, here's where I would insert applause, okay? Because I was telling you Elon Musk is my hero, but really, let's be honest, and I'm sure most patriotic Americans will agree that people like you, men and women like you who have put your time into the service and devoted your life to it, you guys are the real heroes. Thank you so much for your service.
I'm very humbled.
I can never thank you enough. I can't. I'm the girl that hugs people, that hugs. I go to the gun shows and hug all these old, veteran. I do. My fiance is like, oh my God. Enough.
Awesome.
No, I can't. They need to know
awesome.
how much I love them and how much I appreciate. So thank you. That's an amazing career, Brian. So tell me, you said when you were in the Philippines, you got to see both sides of the fence. So tell me a little bit about that.
I did. As the air attaché, it kind of, excuse me, is a diplomatic role. So I have my military side that I have to do, on a day-to-day basis, but in the same sense, it's just kind of a weird mix, and I'd never been thrown into that before, where as we're like somebody here that's an attaché to the U.S. would have access to I had access to the majority of the government leadership in the Philippines, everybody from, the president to Manny Pacquiao to, the Secretary of National Defense, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. So I got a chance to, on the military side, doing the diplomat piece with that. But the tricky part was interfacing in with the State Department side, which was, heavy on the liberal side. And a lot of them did not think very highly of the military. So it makes it a little tough to try to, interact. So it was kind of a challenge and kind of mentally exhausting on some days. But, I would sit across the table from them during the ambassadors meetings every Tuesday, in uniform. So it was tough to turn on the military and the diplomatic side of the house. And you had after hours things too, where you would have I learned how to drink Scotch pretty well.
Scotch drinker? Yeah, that's my kind of guy. Gentlemen, start your engine.
They love Johnny Walker over there. So I saw everything from red all the way up to platinum. With some of the leadership there. So that's the way you got things done.
Okay.
On the diplomat side of the house was a glass of scotch and getting down to business.
Come on, how are we doing over here? Okay. Oh, yes. All right. Hey. All right.
But the liberal side of the house didn't understand that type of, being more cordial and being able to get military objectives done. It was it's an overt type of information gathering, basically, as an air attaché. But the funny thing is, I learned real quick about the State Department employees. You knew which ones were the liberals because when they talked, they always talked and it made it sound like a question when they're stating a fact. So it was one of those things that were really kind of grated on me. And occasionally they'd catch me in an eye roll or two, but having access to the ambassador was, very nice. And, and one of the ambassadors that was there was actually, confided in me on the side that, hey, I'm not one of those. I'm kind of go the other way.
So that is very interesting. I really wish I would have gotten into the military, because that life seems like something, and I know it's different for women, and women go through a lot in the military, sometimes things that they should never experience, but there's always good sides and downsides to it. But I would think for that, but I really wished I would have joined. In fact, when I was like 36, I decided to just cut my media career and I thought, you know what? I want to serve my country. I was born on July 4th. So, I should totally be serving. And they were like, yeah, you missed it by 2 years. I was like, what? And back then I was in good shape too. They were like, yeah, no, you have to be, I think 34 was the cutoff age then, but.
Yeah, they got waivers for everything. That's garbage. So somebody that wants to come in and wants to serve, they're like, sorry, you're too old. I think that's always been one of the things that I really frowned on with the military. Is like, you got people who are out there, it's a volunteer service. They want to come in and you want to tell them, Well, if you'd come in 2 years ago, everything's cool, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was still in my prime, 36. I was in really good shape. I mean,
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
worked out with weights. I used to be a bodybuilder. I ran a lot. And I think I could probably outdo a lot of the younger kids going into the military back then. But if I could just get through basic training and do something that requires, just specific skills. Cause I mean, at that point, I'd already been in my career for, I don't know, a while. And I could have served somehow, I feel like, but whatever. I never held it against our, governments. It's like they have rules, whatever. We just have to follow the rules, whatever. But yeah, and I would have totally been into it like I would have wanted to be with you guys. I would have wanted to be with the guys, not the girls. I would have been like, let's drink some scotch, boys. Where are the cigars,
Yeah. Exactly.
So what do you think about everything kind of that I prefaced? Let's start with what President Trump has accomplished in his first 100 days.
I tell you, it's amazing. I think this is going to go down in history as the most effective and efficient 100 days. Of course, you got the liberals out there, Chuck Schumer and everybody else. He's creating chaos. And look, he is not going to set the country up to fail. This is his second go around, like you said. First time out of the gate, hey, I'm learning the ropes. This time, the flood the zone technique with establishing his cabinet, I believe, and hitting everything right off the bat. Media doesn't know where to focus, it's ire. So forever now we've been hearing, the price of eggs haven't gone down. The price of eggs are still high. And then all of a sudden eggs are down. And it's like, well, no, you can't accept that jet, personal jet gift. It's like, look, just, calm down. We all know it's not going to go, to his personal fleet. It goes to the Department of Defense. So
he said that.
It's the lack of honesty and clarity.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy.
He came out and said that too. Okay. Never mind that Bill Clinton received a helicopter and he kept it for his personal service, liberals don't like facts, but he came out and said that because he'd already been hearing the hoopla and he's like, I mean, I'm sure he expected it. That was gifted to the United States government. That's not my personal gift. So it's for the Department of Defense. So just everybody needs to chill out. I love the way he says that too. He's so funny. He's got to be one of the funniest presidents we've ever had because it's not like scripted. It's not like, I thought Ronald Reagan was kind of funny too, but President Trump is the most genuine. And I've said this before, and it's on one of my other podcast episodes. He's just so genuine. And people who really know him love him because he is so real. And you're right. Their liberals are saying, egg prices haven't dropped. I'm like, okay, relax.
Yeah.
They're idiots because it's like they don't have any logic or common sense that you have to remind them of. He's only been in office for 100 days. Relax. There was this idiot liberal. Somebody dubbed her. I don't even know her name. She doesn't matter. Somebody dubbed her like the most annoying liberal Karen, and because she gets on there and she starts talking about, and you ask these MAGA people, well, why did you? What did Joe Biden do that's so wrong? And they just say it's his policies. It's his blue policies. Okay, she says, and tell me more. And I'm like, do you really want to go there? Because all of these other conservatives got on that thread and just ripped her a new one. It's like, really, lady? Because I can list them all. But you ask a liberal why they're out holding Hamas, pro-Hamas signs, or why they're out there fighting for these city and state officials who are interfering with the arrest of these MS-13 people or illegals who have been found guilty prior or have been kicked out of our country for crimes. Like that latest guy that the judge let out. He had put a guy in the hospital because he told him to turn down his. I mean, that's a piece of shit. So we don't need that in here. And people are going to say, "Oh, but Americans do that too." Okay, but they're not here illegally, so we can't do anything about it. Like it's up to that person to file charges. But whenever you have control of who you allow and welcome into your nation, and you can get that riffraff out, get them out here, get their asses out of here. Like this is insane. I don't even have the patience, and I don't even want to waste my time even anymore, like responding to some of these people, because it's like, you're not worth my time if you're that stupid. Because it's like talking to a wall. You're not going to understand what I'm saying anyway.
Well, I get pretty fired up too, and my wife has to calm me down. So I'll get in front of the TV and hear, the left's answer to all of the questions that are going to be posed by the Trump administration. But like you said, the things that drive me absolutely crazy is 100 days, and then you have the balls on some of these people to step up from the Biden administration. Previously, that perfect example is the pilot, the FAA system. The whole thing that's gone on with the air traffic control, the radar, the antiquated system that's being operated. And you have Chuck Schumer and all these Democratic leaders that are hitting the floor going, look at all these problems that are developed under the Trump administration. They're running the FAA into the ground and they're laying off controllers. And it's all lies. It's all factual inadequacies. And the fact that this is stuff that was identified. I mean, Sean Duffy takes over that day, swears in, and that night we have the incident at Dulles. And I've flown in and out of there, and it's crazy airspace. It's restricted. It's just, it can be a nut roll in there. And we find out under the Buttigieg where he was more concerned about DEI and changing it from notices to airmen to notices to air missions instead of concentrating. And he knew it was a problem, concentrating on the fact that the public safety is paramount. And I am the Secretary of Transportation. I don't need to be taking paternity leave, and I don't need to be, pretending like I'm riding my bike, to work, stopping and taking it out. This was all, there was no substance to the last administration, as we are seeing substance by the MAGA load right off the bat here within 100 days. I mean, the fact that he takes mass press conferences every single day when he's not on the road, and the load of media that fly with him on Air Force One, he doesn't shy away from it. He's not hidden. You got Carolyn Leavitt that's out front. She's an outstanding press secretary.
Probably one of the best press secretaries we've ever had. And I had a girl crush on Kayleigh McEnany because I her little file fact folder that you just had it all tabbed out. I'm like, she's brilliant. And now Karen Leavitt does it without all of that. I'm like, wow, okay, you're like Kayleigh McEnany on steroids. But going back to Pete Buttigieg, he's, he was the worst Secretary of Transportation I think we've ever, totally unqualified. Absolutely. Totally unqualified. And now, even when Trump was in office the first time, I don't think that they had their ducks in a row. Some of this equipment is like over 20 years old. So, I mean, It goes way back, but still, if you're going to go way back, so I don't want to just blame the Democrats for that. Like you said, Pete was it was all pandering. All they know how to do is pander and lie and steal, pander, lie, steal. It's like waste, fraud, and abuse, pander, lie, steal. Like it's the same. They always have this rhythmic of criminal, unethical behavior. It's just sickening. And then you see the Trump administration come in and just basically clean house. And they can sit there and say what they want. The media can sit there and say what they want. They're just continuously pushing the American people away. And what's going to happen is, and just from someone who came from the media and selling radio, selling TV, can see the news networks, what they need to do is come to the table with more truth, like what journalism used to be. Because what's going to happen is network, traditional broadcast, that's going to be going away. It's all going to streaming now. People are going to have to pay for their product because they're not going to be able to. Advertisers aren't going to want to advertise with them anymore, and so that's how you defund those stations, those networks, and then the people are going to be forced to buy, like they do the app on Netflix, Hulu, ESPN, Disney, all of those. You have to pay for that, but no one's going to want to pay for shit lies. No one is, so they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, they're going to be in massive trouble. And I think it's indicative in the fact that they opened up the press room to independent media sources, podcasters, more the conservative, they introduce new people every day, basically that, hey, here's so-and-so from, this is their podcast. And they've been more receptive to that, to get all of the, hey, look, if you guys are going to ask the same questions and you're going to talk off the same talking points and use the same words in these questions, we're just going to go to somebody that has some questions of substance that we can actually give them factual information, and you're not going to keep bombarding us in a rude manner. And it's a constant daily narrative. I always envision that every morning the fax machine is spitting out the talking points at all of these ABC, CBS, all these news stations, because you've seen where they put the montages together and they're like, this is a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our democracy. And as you find out, you peel the onion back, everybody's got their, you got to promote the narrative. And the narrative is, if it's not Democrat, then it's crap. And, our country's going to go off the edge of the cliff. But as we're finding out right now, as you mentioned, is 100 days, his trip to the Middle East. What a business mindset. Like you said, selling the USA abroad does nothing but boost our reputation, boost our economy, and bring jobs to the U.S. I mean, you say what you want about the Middle East, but, when he left office with the Abraham Accords, there were crickets. There was nothing going on over there. Yeah, we were in Afghanistan because I was still there as a contractor. But he had a plan to gracefully withdraw versus what we saw, the chaotic
debacle
show that we saw with that administration. And having been on the ground there at Abbey Gate before and been to some of those locations, it was, man, you talk about done so poorly as the commander in chief. That was when I just kind of shook my head, because I just gotten out of there about May of that year before everything went down. And I was further up north in Mazar Sharif. But we saw it coming down the road, but not as abrupt as it did happen. And that was a shock to everybody. But having plans, having things in place, like I said earlier, flooding the zone. When you hit the liberal media, the Marxist media with 20 different things a day, what are they going to focus on? And then they get their wheels underneath and you hit them with 20 more here. That's why I thought it was amazing when he started announcing his cabinet selections for some of these jobs. It was like, you're going to concentrate on Pete Hegseth, you're going to concentrate on Sean Duffy. Who are you going to concentrate on today?
The Secretary is expected to be a fair, nonpartisan, and responsible leader, as well as a trustworthy advocate for the men and women. Mr. Hegseth, I do not believe that you are demands of this job.
And the fact that they had to go through, the gamut of inquiry through the Senate and the subcommittees was just.
You will have to change how you see women to do this job well. And I don't know if you are capable of that.
Focused on your fitness to serve, including your character and temperament and your overall qualifications to do the job. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
Investigated, and I was completely cleared.
I don't think completely cleared is accurate, but I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work. Yes or no?
Multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
News. Do you know that
run directly contradictory to the dozens of men and women at Fox News Channel who I work with,
I'm not hearing the answer to my question.
And said
in your opening statement, Mr. Hegseth.
Absolutely.
Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position? You resign as Secretary of Defense
I've made this commitment on behalf of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because
hearing,
it's the most important deployment
I'm
of
not hearing
my
an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to move on.
At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct? So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime. That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you were completely cleared? And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you? You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records with names attached to all of these, including the name of your own mother. So don't make this into some anonymous press thing.
Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Yes or no? What are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I would take that as a no.
It was painful to watch, but I mean, he's got the right people in to do the right job, and they all understand. Look, we worked for that guy. I mean, Howard Lutnick, just recently did a deal in the White House and said, I came to the president and I told him this is what we got for this deal. And he's like, yeah, I think we can do better. Can I make a phone call? And London's like, we're going to tell the boss, he's the art of the deal. We're going to tell him, yeah, go ahead and make a phone call. He's, yeah, I got another $2 billion on that one. It's like, yeah, I kind of shape it for him. And then I turn it over to the master and I let him,
Yeah, he's smart. Did you see where when he was signing that and he goes, yeah, I hope you got a good deal, Howard. He goes, if not, he goes, your ass is grass. That was so funny. I love that. Everything that you said is it's spot on. Obviously, people don't understand what they don't understand. And I get that. But like this, when I posted that about him being in the Middle East and how he got a standing ovation, I posted that on LinkedIn and some people on LinkedIn will be like, this isn't the place for politics. I'm like, okay, you dumbass. Business, economics, policies make that it all goes together hand in hand. If you don't understand that, maybe you shouldn't be on this platform. Their ignorance is real and it's apparent. But I had this one lady say on there when I posted his standing ovation that he got, right, from the prince. And she was like, he's a very guy that beheaded someone, chopped them up in pieces and sent them. And I said, you know what? That's terrible. That shit happens in every country. It happens in here with the mob and the mafia and the cartels that we've let in. It happens everywhere. Trust me, they will not think twice to chop up a body and send it to the family because they stole money or stole goods or didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so I told her that, and I said, and it stinks and evil is out there, but you have to look at the broader picture. And I would be saying this, God forbid, if anything ever happened to my family at the hands of any of these evil people, but you have to look at humanity. You have to look at the entire world and go, this is what we need to bring peace so that we can not go to war, to keep our generations safe. But then also, if you think about it, it might bring a little bit of humanity to those organizations who are terrorist and evil doers or whatever. But you have to look at the bigger picture when you're leading a country. You can't, be small-minded like that, because it's about saving humanity and bringing peace. President Trump should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize for that.
Oh yeah. Abraham Accords alone, but that's a problem, is we can't have a conservative that gets something like that. But going back to your point, you got the Khashoggi issue on one hand, and you got illegals that are here raping and killing and beheading and committing murder. So you can't say this is bad and then say we got to treat these people humanely and give them due process. First off, I get tired of hearing on TV, well, they're migrants. No, they're here illegally. Illegal, not legal.
They're
that
illegal aliens.
First crime, here illegally. Well, they didn't commit any crimes. Yes, they did. So that's number one on the whole deal. So come in illegally, then commit other crimes. Hey, man, you got no leg to stand on. Off to El Salvador. And if you're going to be a senator or a congresswoman or a congressman, and you're going to come in, you're going to fight for that, you need to be primary, you need to be sent to pasture.
Yes.
Because that is absolutely not what we stand for. And the fact that you would take that individual over American citizens, born and raised, legal American citizens here in the United States, and would travel on a taxpayer dime to another location, another country, and try to petition that president who's already worked the deal with our president and try to lean on them. You're wasting the taxpayers' time and money. And in my opinion, you're not a patriot. You're somebody that needs to be shown the door. Maybe you should just pack up and go move to Ireland with Rosie.
Or no, better yet, move them to El Salvador, where they seem to want to save all the people. Let them shoo them over to the countries where they're going, they're flying, and say, when they get there, say, no, sorry, no pass, no entry. You ain't coming back. You decided to fly there on American taxpayer dollar, and we're not paying for you to come back. So figure it out. Either you find your own way, and then you'll be on probation, because now we're going to be watching you. And if you do anything else, you're going to be sent back there to the country that you love more than your own nation. So I agree with you 100%. And what has happened to the multiple women and children who have been beaten, raped, let's go back a little bit further to child sex trafficking, innocence lost for the ones who haven't been killed. All of those things that you can never undo, and all at the hands of these people who broke the law getting into our country. Like you said, Brian, the moment you cross over illegally, that's your first crime. The second crime, even if they don't get violent, is going to be by lying to the government and getting food stamps and getting government assistance when they're not even here legally, and they shouldn't be. But that happens all the time. It happens all the time, and it's been happening for years. Think about it, years. It's pretty insane. And then you get called a racist. And I'm about to say something that maybe not conservatives may not like this. Okay. I do not agree with them coming over here illegally. If the majority of the people that came over here illegally, if that was their only crime, like President Trump said, look, just send yourself back and then come in here and we'll try to expedite, if you can show that, you've been here, and they're not going to arrest them. Just come back and do it the right way. Just like they're wanting to bring back that fucker who was flown to, El Salvador. He probably should be sent back, but let's do it the right way. Give him his due process. Okay. Well, first of all, those victims that all were killed and raped, they didn't get their due process, but that's another story. But if you're thinking about getting these people back in, I want people to be here who are going to be thriving. We went to a little section in Tulsa called Little Mexico a couple of weeks ago. Went to this amazing restaurant. And all I kept thinking of, I think about my people, because they're my people. I think about my mom. She was my Mexico. When she died, I lost all of that. She was my only, tie to California and my Mexican heritage. And then she died. And so I've been kind of like growing up the rest of the way the rest of my adult life as a gringa, if you will. But I still have this warm feeling, and I get a lump in my throat and kind of teary-eyed when I get around Hispanic communities like that. Okay. So, and I told Steve, I said, listen, I look at around you, these people are thriving. They're not doing anything but adding tax dollars to our community with their, restaurants and their businesses, and they're thriving. I said, I'm going to say it. I mean, if they could all do this, maybe send one family member back and have them cross over the right way and say, my family's there. I mean, they should really work with some of these people to make this happen, because I don't want to see innocent, I don't say innocent because they're not, because they're here illegally, but they just wanted a better life from their corrupt government that they have in Mexico. It's terrible there. It really is, especially central Mexico. Even the border, like Juarez and all of those places, are just dangerous. The cartels own them, and they're just not good people. And these people live in fear every day. But, that said, I wish that we could help those out. And if we're going to have them come over here, but you're going to have to pay your own way, make your own way. And don't just start sponging off the government. That's not how it works. If you want to come here, you do it like millions of immigrants who came over the right way, saved up their money, came over the right way. Then they started a business, and they did it all on their own dime. They saved every penny. They started their own business, and now they're thriving. And that I have respect for, and that's what I want to see here in our community. I want to see diversity. I love diversity. I just want to see, it done the right way, so that people can't go back and say, well, you're a criminal, because it's not good for them either. They want to leave a good mark on their life and say, we did it the right way.
Absolutely. I agree. Diversity is key. I mean, that's why we're a melting pot, but making diversity a mandate now ventures into the whole racism aspect that, everybody was talking about. But I agree with you on that. There's the people that offer something to the U.S. It's not come in and expect us to accept, your religion, your way of life. You assimilate. You want to come to the U.S. for with land of opportunity, great. You're going to assimilate to the way that we do things here. And there's all the little communities throughout, the 48 and the other 2 non-contiguous states, to where you can establish a great life and contribute and create a family in generations to come that can be prosperous, legal American citizens. But millions claiming asylum from, all the way from Mexico, all the way over, to India and Pakistan and everything. I was like, look, you can't claim asylum for Pakistan and jump on a boat and come to the southern border and go, hey, asylum. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So there are people that will contribute. And, generations before us, my side of the family, as they became migrants and came here legally, they were all screaming like, okay, well, what do you plan on doing? What skills are you bringing to the U.S.? No matter what the culture was, it was Italian or Mexican or
Chinese, anything, they were vetted. Yeah,
absolutely vetted heavily. And yes, it can be a painful process, but just claiming asylum and letting people walk in the border, then losing track of them, giving them a phone and everything else. But I think those folks, like you just talked about, using the CBP home app, you get a free plane ticket home, you get yourself together, and you come back in and you do it legally. Now you got nothing over your head, nothing to worry about, or you're not going to get rolled up somewhere. But all these people saying, hey, with all this stuff going down, they're rolling up American citizens. They're not. There's false narratives out there that are saying, oh, you just sent this 4-year-old with cancer back across the border with a mother. Hey, that was a family decision.
Right.
He was getting ready to be deported and they wanted to take the entire family. Now, it doesn't say that she can't come back across, but telling us that we're grabbing up kids and deporting them. I mean, this is just dishonest crap.
It is dishonest crap. And, I'm going to add to that, these people who are being like singled out and being sent back, they have ties to people who have committed crimes. Right. Like you were saying, come over here and, do it right. Live the American dream. Do not be part of the American nightmare, because that's what they were creating, is a nightmare. And then you bring them over and you hand them everything. What's the golden rule in life? You learn to do something so that you can provide and be appreciative of actually partaking in the steps that makes the American dream. So those are the things that people just don't understand. A lot of people will never understand it. So it's okay. It's all right. But I'm getting to the point now, Brian, where I don't want to talk to people who it's like talking to a brick wall.
Exactly. And I'm the same way. You hit them with facts and you try to tell, you try to explain your reasoning with them based on the factual data provided. And it's like some of these other, you see the protesters are out there, they just keep saying the same phrase and yelling it in your face over and over. It's like, you don't have an intelligent response because I'm correct.
Yeah.
And you have no facts to back up your side other than the fact that, human rights. Okay. Yeah, we all have them. But at some point, you make that sacrifice of your rights when you violate someone else's rights to like breathe air, live, be a prosperous American citizen. I mean, like you were saying, you let these folks in that don't have anything to bring to the table. They create a virus within the body of the United States, which winds up affecting families throughout and destroying families' lives and creating chaos and mayhem and criminal activity and, child sex trafficking, all of that stuff, that people taking advantage of other people to try to get them into the U.S. when they provide nothing of substance.
Right. They don't. Yes.
So, it's just disappointing to hear that one side of, the Marxist, side of the fence on the liberal side is, all about the people that are coming in versus the people that have been here and established a life or being productive American citizens. They're going by the wayside because we need to take care. And like you said, you keep handing stuff out to people, they're just going to keep asking for more. Give them an inch, they take a mile. They want to check. Where's my check? Where's my EBT card? Hey, what hotel room? You're going to put me up in a suite in the hotel room? I can't stay in this tent. I mean, they're talking about the people in Chicago that were on the street. I can't live like this.
Yeah, go back to your damn country then. Yes, go home.
Go north, go south. You can go out the way you came in.
I wouldn't have even thought twice. I would have just been like, here, hop in the car. I'll take you.
I'm going to fix this for you.
Yeah, I'll fix this for you right damn now. So, okay. You mentioned earlier that you got into the Scotches. Do you smoke cigars?
I do. I have my own little humidor here, so it's not on a daily basis, but I usually, when I'm on vacation, like last time I was in Aruba, I grabbed a
Nice.
Good, healthy supply. And my wife has been nice enough to buy me a little humidor that I keep everything
That's a
nice.
good woman, Brian. That's a great woman right there.
So she got it for me. It's in the man cave here. So, when I retired, we bought, she allowed me to create where I'm coming to you from right now, a 600 square foot detached from the house, full own internet, AC, the whole thing. So I could come out here as kind of like a fortress of solitude. So yeah, I'll come out here and have a cigar, and I've got some scotch hidden away here and there, and some whiskey on the side. So
what's your favorite? Okay, I need to know what's your favorite scotch that you just are like, it's like heaven. What is it?
Well, I drank enough Johnny Walker while I was over there. I can't go with the red or green label, so I'm always looking for the next scotch. I got a good buddy of mine that I flew special ops helicopters with, and every time he turns me on to a new one, but then I can't find it anywhere. So anything from black label to platinum, I think on the Johnny Walker side.
Okay.
Swing used to be one. My mother-in-law, a guy she was dating, had this bottle, and every time he hit it, it would just kind of rock back and forth on the table. I'm like, what in the hell is that? He goes, oh, it's Swing Scotch. So I'm like, all right. It's I think it's a Johnny Walker brand. I haven't had it in a while, but I found a place where I could get it. So I got 3 or 4 bottles here for the house, and those are gone now, but I think they still make it. But
yeah.
I'm kind of spoiled, Dewar's and stuff like that. You get that on the plane and things like that. So it gets kind of bland when you're flying, but
kind of like Crown with whiskey, in my opinion. But
yeah. I had some guys in the embassy there, some of my enlisted guys, that every time I came back to the state, they wanted me to get 4 bottles of the Crown Apple. For some reason, the Crown Apple. I'm like, guys, are you kidding me? You can get that here. I mean, you want me to bring 4 bottles of garbage back with me? Okay, well, let's take.
You're better than I am. Might have been like, what are you, limp wristed all of a sudden? Why are you drinking that stuff?
Can I get you a Zima while I'm at it?
Oh my gosh, there's a blast from the past.
I know.
That's hilarious. I had my brother came into town one time, and we went to have cigars. He got me a shot of a Macallan 18, I think it's what it was. Yeah. Oh man. Woo. That got me spoiled really fast. I was like, now that's a scotch. That was so good. And we just sipped on it. We might have had 2. They're not cheap. Those shots were really expensive. They were drinks, they were pours, but they were, it was so smooth and velvety. I can't even describe it. It was so good. Yeah. But I like it with a good cigar. You live in Florida, so I'm going to assume that getting Cubans is probably not too big of a problem for you.
Single malt is probably the best. I've had the blended and everything, but they're still not legal here. So I know people that may have got some Cubans and brought them back at some point from somewhere. But a place that I frequent when I first come into country, when I go off to work for 60 days, I'll stop. When I land in Manila, I'll stay at the Peninsula, and they have a cigar bar there. So I'll get all settled in and then go downstairs. And the guy knows me, so I'll have him make a nice old fashioned for me and go into the cigar vault and
nice
and pick out a good one. Now they won't let me necessarily smoke it in there because everybody's gotten all crazy about this. But when I was there for my 4 years, you could actually still smoke in there, but it was like everything post-COVID wound up being this complete tighten down of everything. You can't smoke in here. You can't do that. So I saw that in the Philippines from when I was there before to when I went back as a contractor, that a lot of things had really changed. And I think a lot of the Southeast Asian countries kind of freaked out, maybe from the proximity of being, that close to Wuhan and how close to home it all hit.
Yeah.
But when we were coming out of our, lockdowns and restrictions and everything, they were still, in the thick of it. So anyway, that's a great little. It's like some of my buddies call it the John Wick bar. So you roll. They've got. It is so cold in there with the AC too. So don't get the booze. You go right up to the bar. and you can get access to the cigar humidor, and
Golly, that
got
sounds
some
like
really good quality
heaven.
stuff.
Yeah, I like a good. I used to do Maduros a lot. I don't smoke them as much either anymore. My fiance's retired. He's living his dream, just doing whatever. But he'll go out on the patio especially during playoffs and stuff, and just he'll have a few throughout the week. One, we kind of made a deal where like I would rather him not smoke one unless he did his 3-mile walk that day, just to make me feel better. Like he's got the blood pumping through the arteries. Nothing clogging up there. So, but he'll sit down on the patio and have one. I will for a special game, like maybe when the playoffs come, I might in the middle of the week, but usually on the weekends, once every couple of weeks, I might have one on. So I've cut down to maybe 2 a month, if that's even maybe not maybe one, but I've been really busy too. So, but I do like mine with the whiskey, and I have gotten where I like a good not Buffalo Trace. Basil Hayden is my new favorite whiskey right now.
Okay.
And I'll just sip it with just a straight pour, like just a little, let it aerate a little bit. You could just kind of pick up on those maple notes, and it's just really robust, but not too alcoholic. It doesn't have that sting. It's just smooth. It's kind of like, to me, the equivalent of, what's that vodka everybody likes that's really smooth?
Tito's.
Yes, Tito's. It's like the Tito's of whiskey to me. It's like that smooth.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I will sip on that, and I like a good mild cigar, like in between a Clado and a Maduro, just it can still taste the boldness, but not too light, where it's like, what am I, a mammy-pamby? I like my my strong cigars and my strong whiskeys, but yeah. And I'll just sip it and take a puff of my cigar and be like, oh man, do you ever just do that and think, thank you, Lord, this is the life. Like, thank you, Lord, for letting me experience this, just total relaxation. And it's just, sometimes I just have to take it in and be like, thank you, Lord, because I don't do that enough. I don't feel like I do that enough, and it's nice to do it and just to be like thankful for those little things that you have. So
yeah, I'm in the same way. I have to stop every once in a while and go, wow, with all the crap going on around me, when you really narrow it down, I'm kind of blessed.
Yes.
The fact that I have the ability to be able to do this. I live in this great country. I got a great president. Things are looking up. You forget to count your blessings sometimes because you get so down into the weeds, and you allow people and things to kind of drag you down. So you got to kind of elevate out of it a little bit. And we forget to do that. I think we all do.
I think so too. I just want to know, I'm going to try to make it a point to not just to get caught up in the bullshit, the minutia of bullshit that comes out of these liberals' mouths. And as soon as I can just do that, I'll be okay. But yeah,
I get to it too, because it's easy to get drawn into it. It's funny because every time I go home back to Verdigris to see my folks, and still in the same house I grew up in, my dad's got Fox News on 24/7, and he's got the volume because he needs hearing aids. So he's got the volume at max, so he doesn't even hear me come in the door, so I pretty much scare the crap out of him when I come in. I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh man, you live in a great state too, by the way. But it's a blessing to still have your dad around. Yeah, I always tell Steve, his parents have passed on. I'm like, we're orphans, but we're old orphans, but we're orphans nevertheless. The next time you come to town, if you have your wife with you, just you guys should come out and see us. I think it would just be nice to just
absolutely
shoot the shit on the patio. You'd like Steve. He's a wonderful man. He's so awesome. You would get along with him. He's a really nice guy. And I'm really blessed to have him. But yeah, we'll get together. You guys come over for dinner and we'll just hang out. And
Kim used to be, when I first met her back when I was in Montana, and she was in California, but she was she'd probably tell you she wasn't, but she's kind of a liberal, and I was still in the military. So it's like I didn't care because I really couldn't be really politically affiliated in the military. I just had the job to do. Right. But when she first said, no, we can't have a gun in the house. No, we're not going to do this and that. Now, by the time we had moved to Hawaii and I was on staff to her there, she got a job as a contractor with the Marine Corps. So she went from calling guns, I couldn't make the slide thingy do the thingy with the stuff. I'm like, all right, stop. First off, what are you shooting on 9mm? Okay, we're gonna sit down. You need to sit down. You need to learn all the nomenclature of the slide, the barrel, the magazine, and all the stuff you need. So you told me to trim my nails down and stuff. I go, yep, you're gonna have to stop worrying about pedicures for a while and manicures because you're gonna be handling weapons and it's gonna get nasty. So she went from can't have a gun in the house now to shooting guns on the range every week, pretty much with the military. She had to carry a 9mm with her for the job in Hawaii. And now she bought me a gun safe for my birthday like 2 years ago. She bought me AR-15, and she got me, another Desert Eagle 9mm. So, she's tricking me out on everything. And I usually bring those up with me and go with my brother there in Tulsa, and we shoot at the indoor range when I come home. So yeah, I'd be very happy to introduce you to her. She probably curses more than you do, like a sailor, but
no, I was good today.
We'll get the two of you together, and then we can see who.
I'll take her to the gun range with me. You guys can sit back and have a cigar. I'll take her to the gun range with me. We'll have fun.
She's a deadeye. I mean, she never shot forever, and then she just went right out to the range with the Marine Corps, and she brought me her target back. I'm like, are you sure this is yours? Yeah, it's signed by the gunny. He said yes. This was He said, I told him you doubt me, so I needed him to sign him and
That's
say
hilarious.
This is a valid target.
Yeah. She could probably show me a thing or two because I just started, I got a gun a year ago for Christmas, and then I'm wanting a pistol now. We have several. Steve has, I got him one, a Glock, and then he has AR-15. Yeah. Those are still legal, so I can say it. I don't care. We're in a beautiful red state. So, but yeah, she could probably show me a thing or two.
He lives in Mounds, and he's got a nice, ranch kind of farm area out there in Mounds. So I kind of bounce back and forth between Verdigris and Mounds when I'm home. And I can't remember the name of the range that we go to, but it's like right off 44 in Yale, somewhere right around there in Tulsa. But we come through Jinx all the time when I'm driving through there.
But if we're in town, I'll be like, come on by. So glad you did this. Thank you so much for doing this and coming on my show.
Great to catch up with you. And like I said, I've been kind of in the shadows following you and liking your posts and everything. And occasionally I would comment, but I remember, like you said, we're both kind of shy. Everybody's got their own little cliques in high school and stuff. And I was probably a big old introvert back then. And it's amazing what the military will do for you real quick and make you a real quick extrovert. But, time lost, in my opinion. Last time I was around our classmates was, I think, 25th reunion. So it's always good to catch up and talk to everybody, see how you're doing.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you
so much. You're doing amazingly, of course.
Well, I love our country, and I think that drives me. I love my kids. I'm in the greatest nation in the world, but such an honor to have you on my show again. Thank you for your service, and you're just an amazing guy. So I'm excited to hopefully have you back on sometime.
I'm honored to be on, and thank you for your support because we can't do it. It's a volunteer force, so if the public's not backing you up, it makes you wonder what you're doing it for. So it's podcasts like this, and like you said, count your blessings and looking around you, taking some time to stop and you realize what it's all about. And no better time to do that when you retire, to stop, have a cigar and a scotch and take a look back and go, what did I just do at 27 years?
Yes. Yes.
And it just kind of flies by. And now here you are, you're a little bald. Every hair is gray, and you wake up in the morning and you snap, crackle, pop like a bowl of Rice Krispies, and
it's everybody though.
You make it through the day.
But at least you did something that's very, all of you, everybody in the military together. Think about this. You have over 80 million Americans who I know support and more, who support and back you guys and appreciate all that you do. Sometimes people aren't vocal about it. Not everybody is, but I am. So like I said, it's just an honor to have you on my show, on my podcast. So hopefully you'll come back and
honored to be here. Yeah. Anytime you'd like me to do it, I'm available. So it'd be an honor.
Good. Thanks, Brian. Thank you. Take care.